right, welcome. Welcome to worship of the living God at Grace Baptist Church in Bay County, Florida. Please turn in your Bibles to Leviticus chapter 10. Leviticus chapter 10.
What? Leviticus?
Leviticus chapter 10.
Leviticus 1:5.
We're going to go back over our text that we looked at recently. Verses 1 and 2. If you remember this from last time, Aaron's sons, Nadab and Abihu, put coals of fire in their incense burners and sprinkled incense over them. In this way, they disobeyed the Lord by burning before him the wrong kind of fire, different than he commanded. So the fire blazed forth from the Lord's presence and burned them up, and they died there before the Lord. Now, don't turn, stay here in Leviticus 10, but I'm just going to go back to Genesis chapter 3 and look at verse 6. You must not eat of the fruit or touch it, or if you do, you will die, says Eve. You will not die, the serpent replied to the woman. Genesis chapter 3, verse 6.
What?
The woman was convinced. She saw that the tree was beautiful, and its fruit looked delicious. And she wanted the wisdom it would give her. So she took some of the fruit and ate it. Then she gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate it too. Now, did the same thing happen to Nadab and Abihu that happened to Adam and Eve? This is a trick question, because either answer is correct. If you say yes, the same thing happened to both Nadab and Abihu as well as Adam and Eve, you are correct in a sense. And of course, if you said no, you are correct. Because not exactly the same thing, right? Nadab and Abihu were consumed in that moment, immediately, by fire. Whereas Adam and Eve were not consumed. But what's my point? The sin was the same. Luke chapter 12. Turn to Luke chapter 12. Verses 42 to 47. And the Lord replied, a faithful, sensible servant is one to whom the master can give the responsibility. Let me read that again. A faithful servant is one to whom the master can give the responsibility. The third time. And the Lord replied, a faithful, sensible servant is one to whom the master can give the responsibility. Do you see that this is talking about the same thing? Nadab and Abihu, Adam and Eve. What were they? Well, they were not faithful, sensible servants. Why? The master gave them responsibility. What happened? Well, verse 43. If the master returns and finds that the servant has done a good job, there will be a reward. Verse 45. But what if the servant thinks, my master won't be back for a while? And he begins beating the other servants, partying and getting drunk. The master will return unannounced and unexpected, and he will do what? Cut the servant in pieces and banish him with the unfaithful. Do you see that this is the problem with Adam and Eve? They are unfaithful servants. Nadab and Abihu, unfaithful servants. 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 2. 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 2. Say it with me. Adam and Eve were unfaithful servants. Nadab and Abihu were unfaithful servants. 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 2. Now, a person who is put in charge as a manager must be what? Faithful. Do we see what the issue is here, friends? Now I want to ask you a question. Does anybody know the origin of the handshake? Mr. Bruce, you don't have to get up.
I'm not that old.
But when we shake hands in our culture, what is it? It's a greeting. And it's a greeting of goodwill. Why? Why is that? Do you know the origin of where the handshake came about? Well, it appears to go back into ancient cultures, into antiquity. Why would you shake somebody's hand? Mr. Bruce, you don't have to get up, but shake my hand. What are we signifying when we clasp hands and shake? What are we signifying? I have no ill will toward you. You have no ill will toward me. Why? What's supposed to be there?
It's a greeting.
A knife. In antiquity, someone would come up to you and you'd reach out your hand and the other person has a knife. What do you know? This is in the days before police. This is in the days when it was you and the other person, face to face, mano a mano. And when you reached a hand out, Mr. Sri, shake my hand. When you reached the hand out and the other person reached their hand out and you saw a knife in it, you knew what? There was not goodwill. Now we're going to take a look at another custom that goes back very ancient. Genesis chapter 24. Genesis chapter 24. Genesis 24. Genesis chapter 24, verses 1 to 9. I'm going to start with verse 2. Genesis chapter 24, verse 2. One day, Abraham said to his oldest servant, the man in charge of his household, "Take an oath by putting your hand under my thigh. Swear by the Lord, God of heaven and earth." What's that about, Mr. Bruce? Reach up under here and take your hand and put it under my thigh. Mr. Bruce is declining for probably good reasons. Okay, Mr. Sri, this is your opportunity. Reach up here. Put your hand under my thigh. Why is Abraham asking his servant to do this? Why is he asking? What's being communicated here? Abraham is saying to the servant something very important. Turn just a few chapters over. Genesis 47, verse 29. Genesis 47 and 29. Genesis 47, 29.
47.
Genesis 47, 29. At the time of his death, Jacob called for his son Joseph and said to him, "Please do me this favor. Put your hand under my thigh and swear you will treat me with unfailing love by honoring my request." And then what does he say? "Do not bury me in Egypt." Mr. Sri, what's it about? What's going on? What is this putting the hand under the thigh thing about? One more verse, Hebrews chapter 6. Hebrews chapter 6.
What?
Hebrews chapter 6. Hebrews chapter 6. Verse 16. Hebrews chapter 6, verse 16. Now when people take an oath, they call on someone greater themselves to hold them to it. And without any question, the oath is binding. Can we put it all together now? What's the meaning of put the hand under the thigh? What was Abraham saying to his servant?
It's an oath of honor.
Yes, what was Jacob saying to Joseph? First of all, what's under there? What's down under there? What's under the thigh? Well, friends, remember our handshake? If you've got a knife and you mean murderous intent on the other person, where is the guaranteed place where you can stab and access and end the life of the person you're seeking to destroy? Throat is one place. But if you start going for the throat, the other person...
I said chest.
I'm sorry, the chest. I misheard you then.
Sorry.
That's okay. But if you start that, the other person's going to be resisting a little bit.
Yes.
But if they offer to put your hand under their thigh and you have a knife,
Sign of trust.
it's a sign of trust. It's a sign of access. It's a sign of what? What are located down there, friends? I don't mean to be crass. What are located down there under the thigh? The crown jewels! Mr. Shree, the Queen's jewels are down there. The King's jewels are down there. And if you've got a knife and you put down on the King's crown jewels, well, you've pretty much got the King. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. What's the expression? By the balls? I apologize. I don't mean to be crude with it. But what's my point? What is Abraham saying to his servant? He's saying, put your hand under there. Because if you want to hurt me, don't carry out this mission I'm sending you on. What does Jacob say to Joseph? By the way, I want to kill that machine over there making that noise. This is Jurassic Park. We have a Triceratops in the corner not feeling well. What's Jacob saying to Joseph? Joseph, put your hand on my thigh. Why? Because if you really want to hurt me, don't obey my request. Do you see that? What does this have to do with Adam and Eve? What does this have to do with Dathan and Abiram? Well, let's go to Luke chapter 22. Thank you for letting me take you on this detective journey. Luke chapter 22, verse 24. What is it? What is it about hand under the thigh? It's close, isn't it? It's very intimate. You have a close and intimate access to the person you wish to destroy, if you have murder on your mind. Now in Luke chapter 22, by the way, if you want to know when disaster is going to come to a place, keep this verse in mind. Luke chapter 22, 24. Then they, the disciples, began to argue with themselves about who would be the greatest among them. What's going on here? This is Jesus' last moment on earth before the cross, the agony of the cross. And what are his disciples doing after he's poured out his life into them?
Argue.
They're arguing. Which one of me is the best? Peter says, I'm the best. James and John said, we're the best, and we'll kill you if you don't agree with us. John says, I'm the best. And all the rest of them the same. What a heartbreak. Jesus is just about ready to go to the cross for people who are taking exactly the wrong understanding from what he's teaching. Now in that same chapter, Luke 22, go down to verse 47. Go down to verse 47. But even as Jesus said this,
47?
a crowd approached, led by Judas, one of the 12 disciples. Judas, what did he do? Judas walked over to Jesus and greeted him. How did he greet him? Did he put his hand under his thigh?
Nope.
Did he shake his hand?
Nope.
What does it say? Judas walked over to Jesus to greet him with
A kiss.
a kiss. But Jesus said, Judas, would you betray the Son of Man with a kiss? Is it coming together, friends? Is it coming together? What Nadab and Abihu did in offering strange fire was not simply an accident or a mistake. Jesus, I made some stew, and instead of putting a teaspoon of salt, I put a cup of salt into the soup. Is that what Nadab and Abihu are doing? No. Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, eating the forbidden fruit. Were they just making a humble, innocent mistake? It was just an apple. Bruce and I hear this all the time online. God's a meanie. Why would he punish Adam and Eve with death simply because they wanted to eat an apple? Because, my friends, there was so much more involved. What about the servants? Abraham's servant had access to Jacob's crown jewels. Abraham's servant had access to Abraham's crown jewels. Why? Abraham said this, listen, if you want to harm me, if you want to do me evil, if you want to hurt me, this is your opportunity. Your hand is right where you can do it. And it would hurt me less if you stabbed me right now in my crown jewels than if you disobeyed me on this matter I'm sending you. Same thing with Jacob and Joseph. Jacob says to Joseph, Joseph, you're the beloved son, you're my faithful son, but put your hand under my thigh, because if you don't obey me on this next promise, you might as well just plunge a knife in there. Luke chapter 16. Turn to Luke 16. We're just going to read verses 1 and 2.
What verse?
Luke 16, verse 1 and 2. Jesus told this story to his disciples. There was a certain rich man who had a manager handling his affairs. One day, a report came that the manager was wasting his employer's money. So the employer called him in and said, "What's this I hear about you? Get your report in order, because you are about to be fired. Friends, this is the human situation. When God says to us, obey, and we look to Him and say, Lord, I don't think so. I don't think I'm going to obey. What have we done? We have acted like this wicked manager. We have destroyed our relationship with God. We have betrayed His trust. We have deeply wounded and offended not God in His person, but we have wounded Him in His relationship with us. Now, in pre-modern days, this doesn't apply so much in a modern context. In a modern context, if a judge who presides in a courtroom has to hear a case involving his own son or his own family member, what will he do? He'll recuse himself. He'll take himself off the case. He'll ask another judge to come in and handle that case involving his son. Why? Because there's such a conflict of interest in the judge trying to judge his own son, his own child. But it wasn't always that way. In antiquity, kings or potentates or princes often had to judge, sometimes even their own family members. And so too, friends, God has to judge us. There is no peer for God to recuse himself to. He runs the divine courtroom. He is the judge. We must appear before him. Now, just like in this hypothetical example, a son would appear in a courtroom before his father, the judge. Does his father, the judge, love him the less? No. His father loves his son very much. But what? To the judge, the law, and the details of the law take priority. And friends, we have to understand that. God is a king. He is a royal king. And when we sin against him, when we disobey him, we offend him. We challenge his authority. We rebel against him. And we must be judged. What happened to Adam and Eve? They were thrown out of the garden. And though it took 900 years, they both died. What happened to Nadab and Abihu? They burned strange fire. What happened? They perished. What's our history? Before Jesus comes into our life, what did we do? We lived our